being arrogant and proud, because actually that is not something that has been given to you in order to utilize for the benefit of society and the benefit of humanity.
So, Radebe, what is unique about your church and this African emphasis?
We come from the African spirituality. Now, if you look at African spirituality as Africans, these are our beliefs of our great ancestors. Even before the arrival of the missionaries in Africa, we were not a nation that did not know God. We knew God. We worship God in our own African context. So I am from the line of African prophets. Yes. For my ancestors.
Strange enough, I read something today that says slavery is not the history of black people. Slavery interrupted the history of black people. Do you believe in that as well?
Yes, of course, yes. We do believe in that.
So, like I said again, what differentiates you? Do you also believe in Jesus, or is it a different belief system?
It's a different, because you, as I'm saying, you have your what you call your AIC. AIC is the African Initiated Churches, churches that existed before the arrival of the missionaries. Then you have your WIC, that is the Western Initiated Churches. So we are the indigenous. We are teaching people to go back to the beliefs that existed here before the arrival of the missionaries. That is the religions of our ancestors, the African spirituality, or others would say African religion. That's
a massive project. How much buy-in are you getting into this ideology?
There's a lot, as we've mentioned the numbers. And the reason why there's a lot, it's because you are flesh and you are spirit. So deep down in you, you know the truth. So it's a matter of revival, in actual fact. We are reviving the religion that has always been here in this continent. So the buy-in, we are not producing a new religion. It's a religion that was here. So it's a matter of reviving the people to go back to their own religions that existed here before.
So what's your advice to worshippers who are going out looking for these miracles and wanting to see if they can impact their lives? What would you say?
My advice would be people must go back. People need to go back to their own spirituality, because as I said, we have our own.
Yes.
God created all nations. God created the world. No one came from anywhere.
And every nation has its own unique identity.
Exactly, and its own way of worshiping God and communicating with God.
How do people get to know this? Like you say, you must go back to your own. How do you know what is your own in this day and age, where as a black person coming from South Africa, you can get married to a European who's never set foot on this continent? And how do your kids then relate to what is their own?
I like that question. It's a matter of balance. As I said, it's to answer that, it's not a matter of you, probably as a black, not marrying a European. You can marry any nation in the world. It's just a matter of everyone understanding their own identity, understanding their own roots. All people are still there for that.
Yeah.
Churches, like the indigenous churches, that are able to teach you, not a religion that takes you away from who you are and gives you another kind of identity. That's not your religion. Your religion has to embrace your identity, who you are. So those kind of churches, and also old people who are also going to guide us, will assist us. Though you might be married to a European, an Asian, whoever, we are all created by God, but each one needs to know who they are. So the kids will need to then learn the father's side, and the kids will then have to maybe learn the mother's side. But it's important that
so people can't be complacent. They continuously have to be wanting to find out what their roots are.
Yes, exactly, because it's our God-given ways. For an example, now we are in these issues of religion, these problems of religion, and people are now confused. People don't know what is what, but their own religions do explain to them certain things. They do give them direction of how to worship.
What I'm trying to get from you is, these people, in their quest to find out who they are, they end up at these places that are dubious. How do you protect yourself from that?
No, probably I will have to correct that. I don't think people who end up in the dubious places are people who are searching for their identity. Those are people who are probably desperate and they want shortcuts into life, because those places,
Oh, wow.
those places are not teaching them who they are.
How do you, when you're an individual, you're Desiree looking for a place to discover yourself, how do you know the difference?
Well, it will start when you want to discover yourself. I'll just make an example.
Yeah.
As I sit here, this is how spiritual I was guided to be. And it symbolizes my African roots, and it symbolizes my indigenous way of worship. So you'll find others who look at me and say, no, you are backwards. I don't want to be associated with you.
Yeah.
Those people are not, they don't want to know who they are.
So if I get you right, you're saying you as an individual will know. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think there's a saying that says 2 birds of the same feather, they flock together. So as I say again, if you don't want to, as an African, you don't want to discover who you are and your African roots, you'll not be associated with Prophet Radebe, even by the way I look.
Yeah, yeah.
Because already for you, it's a no-no.
It's a no-no for you.
You will then go to a place that will associate with you, someone who will be speaking your language, someone who will be, talking the modern language. And then you'll identify. So that's what I'm saying. It starts with you. If you, Desiree, want to know your roots, you will look and search. And when you see Prophet Radebe and others, you will say, no, I identify, because he symbolizes the roots. He symbolizes teachings that are taking aspects. So this is what I want. You'll go there. If you don't want that, you'll then go to other places.
I find what you're saying a bit difficult, because I think people end up going to these places because they feel like they don't have a radar. They really don't know. But let's talk about these renewed calls for regulation of churches. What's your sense about that? Is that the right way to go? Would your church be open to being regulated?
I think we have been speaking about this from probably 2015, since the calls were there. I think let me use the word sober person will really know that the state regulation into religion, it's not the way, because religion needs to be independent, state needs to be independent, and they need to work together. Once you have the state regulating religion, and then things will not go well. I think I need to start there.
Yeah.
But obviously we have seen
that there are challenges and there needs to be solutions. Yeah,
there need to be solutions, but also the call for the regulation has not even assisted us. It has not pointed to solving the problems. Yep. Even when there are regulations,
everybody keeps saying,
yeah, because we have looked at what was proposed, and what was proposed does not seem to give solution.
Are you part of that process?
To the process. Which part?
The CRL process.
No, and I'm not part of the process, because as we know that from 2015, there were certain religious leaders who were so almost like respected, put in boardrooms, and there were those who are summoned, and there were those who seem not to be respected. It started wrong even from the beginning, because
Okay, we have to wrap up our conversation,
yes,
unfortunately. But generally, what do you want to say to people watching us who want to go to church, want to have their spirit revived, but don't know where to go? What's the way to go about it?
For me, it's quite simple. You are free. It's South Africa. Go anywhere you want. But if you are an African, search your way, your godly given ways that God gave you in order to worship God in the African context.
For more information, visit www.afroworldnews.com, the only news network to highlight all news about Africa and Africans worldwide.